Good day, welcome to the Automotive Dad, and welcome to the 2026 Dacia Jogger Hybrid. Now, a couple of years ago, I rated the Jogger I had in then as my family car of the year because for a multitude of reasons, it has 7 seats, it's cost effective, it's frugal, it does everything. But this new version, this is the hybrid. This is the 155, called 155 because it's got 155 horsepower, 172 newton meters of torque, 9 seconds to 62, and arguably, it's actually the best jogger they've ever made. So in this episode of the Automotive Dad, we have a look through the new Dacia Jogger Hybrid, and we see just why this continues to be an exceptionally good family car. Now, front end wise, things have changed just a little bit. So starting with these lights with like integrated LED cluster turn signal, lovely design. These bumper portions here are kind of using recycled plastic, so they're not like a base black, they've kind of got a bit of a sparkle into them. Distinctive Dacia branding up here with a nice grille. This one's finished in sandstone, so it's kind of, well, DVLA calls it cream, but I understand sandstone because it does kind of look a little bit sandstony. The front end is a strong look and is arguably a very good design, and that actually of the rest of the Dacia lineup. There's similarities between this, Sandero, Bigster, Duster, everything has that kind of similar front end. So it looks quite good. Now, what about the side? Now, side profile wise, starting at the front, 16-inch alloys finished in Tamiya black, typographic details down the sides, Dacia bronze kind of wing mirror covers, black around the rest. Very modular roof bars that with a single key can basically be deployed from this, which is aerodynamic, to allowing you to put a roof box on. Shark fin antenna at the back here. Now, the side design isn't too full of lines because effectively this is a very long and very big car. The back of this is huge because, for good reason, there's 2 extra seats inside. If you wanted to make this a universal roofline without the windows kind of staging up, then you wouldn't have the capability to have 2 extra seats in the back because there wouldn't be the headspace. But the side design is nice. You've got these kind of arch protectors, which mean that should you wish to take this into some of the, I don't know, not exactly off-roading, although as we know Dacia's credentials in off-roading are fine. This being a 2-wheel drive might struggle a bit more, although it does actually have a off-roady mode. If you damage anything, you can just replace the plastics way easier than getting paint sorted. So side profile is nice. It's quite smooth, but nothing too in your face from a design point of view. And then finishing with the exterior is the back end design, which hasn't changed too much, has little quirky new design bits, including new LED rear lights, which have a new kind of daytime running light design within them. So the back end is a nice design, and considering it's a big door, has nice lines running through it, which actually interconnect with lines that go down the side here, which are very, very cool. Dacia branding in the middle, but there's not much to it. It tells you it's a jogger, tells you it's a hybrid, and the rest of it is just normal jogger design. By no means is that a bad thing though, because this isn't a bad looking car. The general overall aesthetic is subtle, not in your face. It's not the boldest design they've ever done. Now, if you look at something like the Bigster, that has bold design throughout it, and I have no doubt in my mind that eventually that bold design will work its way down to the jogger. But as this is, it's a very nice, under the radar, reasonable looking exterior of a car. Now, when you get into the jogger, it's a bit of mixed emotion depending on the size of vehicle that you come out of, because this actually is not a very big vehicle. The outside gives the impression it's a big vehicle, but actually the footprint is quite small, and that's noticeable when you get inside, because the inside is not as spacious as you expect it to be. But that's not a horrifically bad thing, because Dacia have managed to fit a lot of things in that small space. So starting with the steering wheel, this has actual buttons, which is a running theme for this car. There's a lot of actual buttons inside it. The steering wheel is a lovely design. The buttons have a nice finish. They're easy to get used to. The volume control for the radio is actually on a completely separate stalk, which has meant that this is quite busy, and also that stalk's always where you expect it to be. There is a phone mount holder up here, and genuinely I don't actually know of a phone that will fit into this, because it won't open wide enough even for my 12 Pro Max, and phones have definitely got a little bit bigger since then. But the steering wheel, nice finish. The cockpit display in front of you gives you ample amounts of information and is relatively customizable. Alike to the Renault system, this one doesn't utilise the entire space, which is a shame, because you think if you utilise this entire space, this could implement Apple CarPlay or all sorts of other things, but it's a relatively rudimental system. Not in that it is rudimental, but considering what they could do with it. Now, you also have a 10-inch infotainment cluster. And this cluster contains everything, gives you Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This one being the extreme, it means it has a better sound system with, I believe, 6 speakers, and it's noticeably quite punchy. Buttons for your heated seats, buttons for your heated steering wheel, literally 2 buttons to turn off all the safety features that bong at you every time you go near a speed limit or close to a white line. And there's a button to tell the car that you're going into like sort of an off-road area. USB sockets down here, climate control with actual controls, not within the system inside the infotainment. And the infotainment itself just contains essential things to run the car, so you don't end up using it all that much unnecessarily when you're driving. Now, the design wise, it's a cool design. There is a lot of plastic, there's a lot of black, but there's contrasting kind of greeny blue colours going on with Dacia design air vents and stuff like that. Gear selector is a tiny little thing down here, and realistically that's about it from their design point of view. But the thing that I'm going to point out, there are a lot of USB-C chargers for all your daily things. There are ample amounts of cup holder storage and door bin storage down here, with a reasonably sized glove box, 2 cup holders down here, and even it's not the biggest glove box for your arm area, whatever you call it, central armrest area, but there is extra space. For a small car, they're fitting in storage wherever they can, and there's a good amount of headroom. Visibility is good. The front end is nice. It's not luxurious, but it's incredibly practical, well beyond what you expect to get for the price of this vehicle. Now, the rear occupant space depends on what setup you want. If you want to have 7 seats, then, well, you get slightly less boot room. But if you just want to have 3 seats in the back, huge amount of boot space, and practical family seating. So starting with the fact that you've got 2 Isofix seats back here, you could, in theory, fit 3 seatbelt seats. If they're the slightly smaller seats, these Joy Elevate R129s, you couldn't fit 3 of them back here without getting them out of alignment, and also I'm just not sure that that 3rd seatbelt will get round them. But for slightly smaller seats for older children, easily get 3 back here. Easily fit 3 adults back here, because there's a good amount of headroom. Now, there are fold-out tables, but as you can see here, doesn't really work for booster seats. So will work for older children or older occupants in the back. Doesn't work so well for kids with booster seats, because it can't really get above their knee level, so less than ideal. But a practical addition nonetheless. Good amount of legroom within reason. Because this is a 7-seater, these seats are pushed forward. If this wasn't a 7-seater and these were slightly further back, you'd still have loads of boot space, but even more space here. So not exactly class leading when it comes to rear legroom, but ample enough, it's fine. And there are charge sockets back here. There's ventilation under the seat. There's no like in your face ventilation, but it's a very reasonable place to be, and it's a good height for kids to get in and out of. Gives them good enough leverage on things to get in and out. It's a reasonable design. Now, I'm not going to show myself in the back of this car, but obviously it does have 2 further rear seats in the back, and under normal circumstances in a car of this size, those 2 rear seats are unusable within reason for 2 people. But as it transpires, you can fit someone over 6 foot in the back with ample space. Someone slightly smaller than 6 foot, so someone my height, you would fit 2 people in the back. They're actually usable. So yes, while you don't have a lot of boot space with those rear 2 seats deployed, well, they're usable for actual everyday use, and they've even got little pop-out windows. So from an interior capability, this is looking pretty good. What about the boot space itself? Boot space-wise, if you're expecting this to be good, be prepared, because it's, well, actually very good. With all 7 seats deployed, you've got 212 litres of boot capacity, which is less than ideal, but actually still relatively usable. You could, in theory, still fit a pram and bits and pieces in there. But fold that down, you get 699 litres if you remove these two rear seats. So 699 litres of usable space. Well, that's gargantuous, but it gets better. If you fold those front seats down, the middle row seats down, over 2,000 litres of boot capacity. This is incredible. Now, all of this bearing in mind that this rear area is set up to take those rear seats, and there are cup holders and there are pop-out windows, and this is a usable rear end. It's not too high to get in and out of. It's a good height to just sit and ponder your life as your children are screaming at you. This is a well-designed interior. Perfect for family life. Dacia know how to do family. Now, the drive of the Jogger has always been quite reasonable, quite enjoyable. Now, this one being the hybrid, the 155, it means it's got this 1.8 litre petrol engine, and this whole kind of drivetrain is a joint venture between Renault, Dacia, and Geely, which after a few days I went, well, that makes sense as to the economy of the vehicle, because like they claim 65 miles to the gallon, and I was like, there's no way it's going to get 65 miles to the gallon, maybe in perfect situations around town. And actually, just around town, it gets about 65 miles to the gallon, depending on your drive cycle. On a run, though, no, it's not going to get anywhere near that. 56.6, driving at 70 miles an hour in the cold, wet, windy headwinds. So it probably would have got closer to 60 had I not had heavy rain and wind. That's quite impressive. And as a hybrid electric vehicle, it's pretty smooth. The crossover between it running as an EV and it running with the engine on, it's pretty seamless. Every now and then you feel bits and pieces, but again, remember, this is not an expensive car, and yet it feels very refined. 0 to 62 times around about 9 seconds, and it gets off the mark quite fast because that 172 newton meters of torque is pretty instantaneous. You press the throttle and you go. It's a good feeling throttle response. Brakes feel nice, and whilst you don't have like a regenerative control, you can kind of put it into a B mode as per standard hybrids to regenerate a bit more when you're going downhill. So I guess you could call that your control of regeneration. But the big thing is that it only has just over a kilowatt, or it's like 1.4 kilowatt hour battery pack to run the hybrid. And you think, well, that will deplete really fast and that will take time to regenerate. And it's super fast, seamless, and you don't even notice it's going on. So literally for about 30 seconds, the engine will run under no load, regenerate the battery, and then switch off for another 5 minutes or so, depending on what you're doing. And the interior noise is very low, very fine. The drive itself, the steering has a really nice feel. It's actually really nicely weighted. And the car itself on back roads, whilst not a sports car, doesn't lumber about, bearing in mind this is a 7-seater. So from a drive point of view, this is quite surprising. You don't expect something with this price tag, and realistically such a small hybrid system, to achieve half the things that this does, and it does it with absolute ease. It's nice to drive, it's cost effective to drive. From a drive point of view, you can't really ask for anything else. And also, I'll add, yes, loads of safety systems galore. And quite often you have to go into an infotainment to turn this off, turn that off. In this, it's just 2 button presses down here. And I'm so thankful for that, because yeah, they do have to restart every time you restart the car. But with 2 button presses, they're not in your face again. And I'm just like, yes, this is a brand that gets driver convenience, because it can do so many things from a tech point of view, but well thought out, Dacia. So in a world where everything is quite expensive, this is a breath of fresh air. At just over £25,000 for a very good spec, reliable family car, which aesthetically looks nice. From an interior point of view, is hard-wearing, full of practicalities, and 7 seats within this price range. It's a no-brainer. And then you consider the fact that it drives well and has economy, which is just exceptional. At that cost point, with all of that, it's amazing. The only downside, actually, is that from a lease point of view, I couldn't find any good lease prices. They're all around £300 a month. And that's still a lot of car for the money, but other manufacturers are managing to get closer from a monthly point of view. But from an outright point of view, they are getting nowhere close, because this car is exceptional value for money. Is it my family car of the year? I don't know yet, but we'll find out soon. I've got a few more to test first.